Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into one of the world's most distinguished spirits. It's a name you know, but a story you might not. All right, let's get into it. The story of Brandy. So let's start with the big question. I mean, you see it on the shelf, right? You hear it in cocktail recipes, but what is it actually? It's easy to get a little confused, especially with names like Cognac and Armagnac thrown around. But you know what? It's way simpler than you might think. And believe it or not, the clue is right there in the name. Brandy comes from the Dutch word brandewijn, which literally translates to burnt wine. And really, that's what it is at its heart, a spirit that's made by distilling wine. You're basically heating it or burning it to concentrate all that flavor and alcohol. You know, the funny thing is, brandy was kind of a happy accident. See, way back in the 12th century, merchants weren't thinking, let's invent a new spirit. No, they distilled wine to solve a very practical problem. It was just way easier and cheaper to ship that way. The original plan? Just add water back at the destination. But then, something amazing happened. They stored the spirit in oak barrels for the journey and discovered it didn't just survive. It got better. Way better. It turned into something smooth, complex, and just delicious. All right, so this brings us to probably the biggest point of confusion out there with brandy. I'm sure you've heard of cognac. So what's the deal? Is it brandy? Is it something else? Let's clear this up once and for all. Okay, this is probably the most important thing to get your head around. So think of it this way. Brandy is the big, broad category, kind of like sparkling wine. But cognac? That's a very specific, legally protected type from one single place in the world, just like champagne is. So yeah, you can make brandy anywhere from Spain to California, but true cognac, it can only, and I mean only, come from the Cognac region of France, period. And the reason cognac has this incredible reputation, it's all because of a super strict set of rules. I mean, they have rules for everything. It has to be made from specific grapes, mostly this one called Uni Blanc, which is perfect for distilling. Then it has to be distilled twice in these traditional copper pot stills. And finally, it's got to be aged for at least 2 years in French oak barrels. It's this whole protected process that just guarantees that quality. So how's it made? Well, it all starts with grapes, right? They're fermented into a dry, acidic wine. Then that wine gets distilled, not once, but twice, to create this clear, potent spirit they call eau de vie, which beautifully translates to water of life. From there, that water of life goes into oak barrels to age, and that's where it gets all its color and so much of its amazing flavor. And then, for the final crucial step, a master blender comes in and works their magic, blending different aged spirits together to create that final, perfectly balanced bottle. So this brings us to the one golden rule you have to remember. If you take away one thing, make it this. All cognac is brandy, but not all brandy is cognac. Master that, and you're already ahead of the game. But hey, the story doesn't stop with cognac. Not even close. Once you step outside those protected borders, there's this huge, diverse world of other brandies out there, and each one has its own personality. And you know, one of the coolest differences you'll find is in how it's aged. The French, with their cognac, mostly use what's called static aging. The spirit goes into one barrel, and that's where it lives out its life. But then you go over to Spain, especially for their branded de Jerez, and they do something completely different. It's this dynamic system called solera y criaderas. Basically, new, young brandy goes in the top row of barrels, and over time, it gets moved down, blending with older and older brandy in the barrels below it. It's this constant mixing, often in barrels that used to hold sherry wine, that creates this incredibly deep and consistent flavor. It's just a totally different philosophy. And get this, brandy isn't even always about grapes. Take Armagnac, France's other famous grape brandy. It's usually single distilled, which gives it this bigger, more rustic character than its smoother cousin, Cognac. Then up in Normandy, they use apples to make the amazing Calvados. Head down to Peru and Chile and you'll find Pisco, this super fragrant grape brandy that's not aged in wood. And then there are things like Kirsch, which is a clear brandy made from cherries. So yeah, the world of brandy is massive. Okay, let's get practical for a minute. Imagine you're standing in a store staring at a wall of brandy bottles. How in the world do you know what you're looking at? Well, it really all comes down to learning the language of aging. But first, I have to share this really cool little detail about the aging process. So while that brandy is just sitting there aging patiently in its oak barrel, a little bit of it, maybe 2 or 3% every year, actually evaporates right through the pores of the wood. This lost spirit has this beautiful, poetic name. They call it the angel's share. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it? It's a little reminder of the time and patience that goes into every single drop. All right, pay attention because this chart right here is basically your secret decoder ring for buying cognac. You see those letters on the bottle? They all tell you the age of the youngest spirit that's in that blend. That's the key part, the youngest one. So VS stands for very special. That's your entry level. It means the youngest brandy in there is at least 2 years old. Step it up and you get VSOP, very superior old pale. Now we're talking a minimum of 4 years. And then you've got the king, XO, or extra old. With an XO, you are guaranteed that nothing in that bottle is younger than 10 years old. Pretty simple, right? Okay, so now you can read the label like a pro. But what do you do once you actually bring a bottle home? Let's talk about how to choose it, how to store it, and of course, how to enjoy it. Choosing a bottle is pretty simple, honestly. Just trust your senses. You want to look for a nice, deep amber color and an aroma that's smooth and rich. If it smells harsh, just put it back. Storing it, even easier. Unlike wine, you want to store brandies standing upright. That keeps the high-proof alcohol from eating away at the cork. Just stick it in a cool, dark place like a cabinet. No fridge needed. And once you pop that cork, it's best to finish the bottle within a year, maybe 2, to get it at its absolute best. So the big question, how should you serve it? Well, an older, really complex XO, that's something you'll want to savor all on its own. Just pour it neat into a proper tulip-shaped glass, which really helps concentrate all those amazing aromas. But your younger VS and VSOP brandies, they are absolutely perfect for mixing into classic cocktails. Think about a sidecar or a Brandy Alexander. Fantastic. And hey, do not forget about the kitchen. A little splash can totally transform a pan sauce. You can use it to flambe a dish for some dinner table drama or add incredible depth to desserts. It's so versatile. All right, finally, anytime we talk about a spirit, it's really important to talk about health. So to give you the full picture, let's take a look at what the research says, starting with some of the reported benefits. Okay, so on one side, some studies do point to potential upsides. Because it comes from grapes and it's aged in oak, brandy does contain antioxidants. And for hundreds of years, people have sipped it after a meal as a digestive. It's also been noted to have some antimicrobial properties. But, and this is a really big but, we absolutely have to balance that with the very real recognized risks. Brandy is a strong alcoholic beverage. Drinking too much can lead to incredibly serious problems, like addiction and liver damage. It's also packed with calories, and like all alcohol, excessive use is linked to a whole host of cardiovascular and mental health issues. And look, to get the clearest, most authoritative take on this, we really need to listen to the experts at the World Health Organization, and their official position is crystal clear. They state, and I'm quoting here, "No level of consumption of alcohol is safe for our health." So it's really important to remember that any potential benefit has to be seen through the lens of that very clear public health warning. So all of this leaves us with one last question to chew on. When you think about its deep history, its incredible complexity, is brandy some old-fashioned drink, a relic from another time? Or is it a timeless classic, just waiting for its big comeback in the modern world? I guess there's only one way to find out. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.